His mercy and kindness mandated that Allah, the Most High, give His servants a feast comprising of several kinds of delicacies, nourishments, gifts, and grants. And He did invite them to attend this banquet on a daily basis, not once, but 5 times a day. And He distinguished each served course of this banquet with a unique flavor and a special benefit to perfect the pleasures and complement the benefits they attain, and to help them to perfect their ubudiyah, their servitude to Allah. That was an excerpt from the book Inner Dimensions of Prayer by Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyya rahimahullah. Love the scholar, highly recommend his writings. And the reason that I read that excerpt to you is because today what we're going to talk about is how to pray all 5 Farad Salah, mandatory Salah, every single day. Make it easy and make it enjoyable. So without further ado, let's get into it. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. السلام عليكم. Hello حبيبتي. I'm so glad that you clicked on this video, because this, as a Muslim woman, is the foundation of our relationship with Allah for any Muslim, right? But I'm speaking to the sisters here right now. The other day, I saw a post of a woman asking, how do I pray my 5 salah on time? How do I make it so that I stop missing my salah, right? And I see this question over and over and over again, and so I want to make this video so that inshallah one or any of the suggestions that I offer can help you in creating that consistency with salah, making it the foundation of your life, and wallahi, your life will change once you start doing that. And I'm so excited for you to experience it. So let's get into it. Before I give you the tips that I have, which I have 3 main ones, something I want to mention is that Allah is Al-Qadir, right? Meaning He is the most powerful. Sorry, actually meaning He's the most capable. That anything is easy for Him, right? Couple that with the fact that Allah told us in the Quran, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. To worship Allah is the purpose of our existence, right? So it only makes sense that if this is our purpose, right, that Allah put us on this earth for, or at least a huge, huge part of it, and Allah made it mandatory upon His servants to pray 5 times a day, then it only makes sense that it would be possible for every single person to do it, right? It wouldn't make sense that Allah would obligate 5 salah a day and it was genuinely impossible for any single person. So the reason I mentioned that Allah is all powerful and all capable here, right, is that because if we set a true intention to revolve our lives around the 5 daily salah and not the other way around, Allah will open the doors to make it easy for you, okay? So we need to ask Him and be sincere, because He's Mujib. He will respond, especially with things like this. He absolutely will help you. And we should always believe that He does, because He responds to every single dua. He responds to the caller when they call upon Him, okay? So with that being said, the first thing that I think we should think about with regards to how you can make salah easy for you is kind of reflecting on what exactly is it that is stopping you from praying on time or praying a certain salah, right? Maybe I know some people struggle with waking up for Fajr, right? Maybe some people wait until the end of the day to pray Dhuhr or Asr because they might be at school or at work and finding it difficult to make those salahs. So what I would recommend is to take out a pen and a journal and really reflect with yourself, what is stopping me from making these 5 salah, right? What is it that makes me feel like this is difficult? Because once you identify that, then you'll know exactly which of these tips is going to benefit you the best, okay? So the first of the 3 is to know the value of salah and learn to love it, okay? The meaning of salah in Arabic is sila, and that means connection. So we can gather from that Salah is literally our connection with Allah. It's a conversation with Allah. Again, quite literally. When we recite, for example, Surah Al-Fatiha, He responds to us. And we get to have this conversation with Allah 5 times a day. We get a personal invitation for a direct line to the most divine every single day. What a blessing, what an honor, and why would we ever choose to miss out on that, right? It is such an absolute gift. And when we see it like that, when we change our perspective from this is a burden because it's obligatory to this is obligatory because of how valuable it is, that Allah doesn't want any of us to miss out on it, then we can start to recognize some of the sweetness of the actual Salah, right? I recommend that you also learn the rest of Salah's virtues as well. That can be a whole other video because there's an endless amount. So let me know if that's something that you would be interested in. The other things that I would say is, number one, to know the rewards of the Salah, right? And the spirit of the Salah. And again, I would highly recommend that if you want to do that, to read this book, The Inner Dimensions of Prayer, because it is so beautiful, and it really dives into the spiritual experience of Salah in a way that a lot of other books honestly don't. So if that's something that you maybe feel disconnected with, then reading this book can be really, really helpful to you. The other thing that I would say is to learn the meanings of what you're saying in Salah, right? Now, even if you struggle there, even if you don't know any Arabic whatsoever, the two things that I would highly recommend is, number one, keep Allahu Akbar and its meaning in your mind, right? Allahu Akbar means Allah is greater, meaning Allah is greater than anything of this world that might distract you from Salah. Allah is greater than any of your troubles, any of your worries, right? Allah is greater than any distraction or desire that might keep us away from Him, right? Allah is greater than anything and everything. And so every time you say Allahu Akbar, remind yourself of that, right? Think about what you're saying there. I know when I do that, it really helps me with my khushu'. The second thing that I would say is to learn the tafsir of Al-Fatiha, meaning learning the meaning and description of the surah. Because again, Al-Fatiha is the foundation of our prayer. We recite it 17 times a day at minimum. And if we don't know what it means, then it can start to feel kind of rote. We can start to get into kind of autopilot mode of just reciting, and we don't really know what we're saying. When we recite Surah Al-Fatiha, Allah is literally responding to what we're saying. And so it's actually one of the most important foundational parts of the Salah. So it's so important that we are present in that moment and we know what we're saying to Allah, right? To that end, I would also say, actually, treat Salah like a conversation with Allah, right? Literally think that I'm speaking directly to Allah right now. I know that sometimes I struggled with kind of feeling like I'm speaking to nothing, or I'm speaking into thin air, right? And that mindset really disconnects us from Salah and from Allah in that moment. So really remember that Allah is Ahad. He is ever living. He is literally listening to you as you recite Quran, as you pray your Salah. And think about it as that, right? And how would you show up in a conversation with anybody, right? Present, listening, speaking intentionally, right? And we should do the same thing with Salah. So that is summary number one. Know the value of Salah and learn to love it, okay? Tip number two, decide. Make the decision. Stop treating Salah, or really any obligation, like it's an option, right? Decide that Salah will be the foundation of your life. And the reason I say that is because when we treat Salah that like it's not an option, that is when we will start to see the consistency, right? Just like how we don't see like really brushing our teeth as an option. Technically, you could not brush your teeth, right? But then your teeth might fall out. Or like there's other things as well in life that we treat as non-negotiable. Technically, you don't have to sleep, but that would be essentially starving your body of what it needs to be healthy and essentially survive, right? Salah is that for your soul. And so recognize that choosing to pray Salah is feeding your soul as opposed to starving it, right? And the other thing that I would say with regards to not treating Salah like it's an option, right? It really is one of the most foundational obligations of Islam. It is one of the 5 pillars of Islam to pray our Salah. It's the first thing that we'll be asked about on the Day of Judgment. And if our Salah is good, all else will be good on that day. And on the other hand, the Prophet ﷺ said that the distinction between a believer and a non-Muslim is the Salah. So when we pray the Salah, that is what qualifies us to really say, I'm a Muslim, not just by name, but in practice, right? I worship Allah actively in a verb tense, right? So we decide that we are going to pray Salah every single day, 5 times a day, and we stop treating it like it's an option. Number 3, the last tip I would give you is to make it feel easy, right? You want to support yourself as much as you can. So if you don't have an adhan app already, absolutely I recommend getting one. A lot of people use Muslim Pro, I know. Personally, I love the app Prayerly because it incentivizes you to pray as early as possible once the adhan comes in, and it also incentivizes you to maximize the reward of your salah by praying with others in congregation, because you'll get 27 times the reward for doing that, right? It also tells you tahajjud time and duha time, which are voluntary prayers that are really, 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 really valuable. And so I think all of those things make Prayerly a really great app, but obviously there's so many other options that you can go for as well. Another tip that I would give you with regards to making salah feel easy is that if you work, ask your employer to make time for your salah, right? And a place for your salah. If you're in school, ask your teachers or your principal or your guidance counselor or whoever is the right person to ask. So many of us, oftentimes, we feel nervous, we feel scared to do this, but you'll really be surprised how respectful and accommodating people are when they see that you don't play about your religion, right? And I know, especially as a working woman, it's illegal not to accommodate your religious practices, right? I know that as a teacher, when I came into my job, one of the first things that I asked about was a place where I could pray and to take away time from the day so that I could do that. And that's really difficult, honestly, as a teacher, because especially with little kids, I was a 3rd grade teacher, you need to be in the classroom as much as possible, make sure that you're watching the kids. Alhamdulillah, I was really blessed that I had a co-teacher so that she could stay with the kids while I would go and pray. But I say all this to say that no matter how difficult the situation may feel, there are options, right? And especially when you ask people, they can help you figure them out. I know another person who I used to work with, he saw me praying in the stairwell and he told me, there's this private, more secluded area, room downstairs where you can go and pray. So he, just out of his own goodness and kindness of his heart, was again willing to help me pray and find a way to do that at work, and I didn't even have to ask him, right? So know that others are going to respect this initiative of yours to pray your 5 salah, okay? Another thing I would suggest is that when you go outside, dress in a manner that you can kind of just pop into the masjid and pray, right? Again, this is a whole other topic of hijab and the conditions of it, but one thing I will say is that when I go outside, it makes it feel a lot easier to pray salah because I don't have to worry about, am I dressed properly? Do I have to go home in order to pray? All these things. I can take one of those little portable prayer mats with me and I can literally pray anywhere. Or if there's a masjid nearby, I can just head in and pray. And it makes it, again, really easy to just make sure that you get to do that, okay? To that end, with regards to praying in the masjid, if you struggle with motivation, I highly, highly recommend praying with others because they'll make it easy, right? It's that community, the external accountability, right? It's always easier when people around us are doing a certain thing to do that thing with them. And so this is part of our human nature, right? To some extent, And so we might as well take advantage of it in ways that are going to be beneficial for us, right? So when you pray with others, it makes it a lot easier. A couple of other things. These are not necessarily easy to do, but again, these make the obligatory salah feel easy, right? So what that would be is to pray your voluntary prayers. Your voluntary prayers, the scholars say that they guard your mandatory prayers, right? So that would be 2 rak'at before Fajr, 4 before Dhuhr, 2 or 4 after Dhuhr. I recommend doing 4 because the Prophet ﷺ said that is a door to Jannah. And then 2 after Maghrib, 2 after Isha. And again, I recommend doing actually 4 after Isha because when you do that, you get rewarded as if you prayed throughout the whole night. So again, the foundation there is 2 before Fajr, 4 before Dhuhr, 2 after Dhuhr, 2 after Maghrib, and 2 after Isha, and I recommend those extras as well. But that way, when you start to make those voluntary prayers consistent, even if it's not all of them, you can pick just one. Then if you're feeling tired or like you don't have the energy in a certain moment, you'll be much more likely to maybe skip the voluntary, but not the fard, right? And it's also going to make the fard seem faster because it really is fast. It takes maybe 5 to 10 minutes to pray Salah. And so it's about the way that we contextualize it as well. Another suggestion I would give, and the last one that I have, is to pray tahajjud. Tahajjud is the prayer right at the last third of the night when Allah descends down in a way that befits Him, and He's looking for us to ask for forgiveness so that He may grant it to us, to ask for any form of bounty so that He can give it to us, right? Imam Shafi'i, I believe, said that tahajjud, the dua that you make at that time, is like an arrow that doesn't miss its target. So that in itself is such a strong motivation to wake up even just one time on a night when you know that you can catch up on your sleep the next day. For example, maybe it's the night between Friday and Saturday, so you know that you can sleep in the morning if you have to wake up a little bit earlier, even if it's just 10, 20, 30 minutes before Fajr, and to pray just a couple rak'at, talk to Allah, ask Him for anything that you want, and help to build that connection with your salah. And again, if you're waking up that early, it makes it feel a lot easier to pray your salah at like 1 p.m., right? So those are my 3 tips. There's a lot more in there, but those are my 3 general tips for how to pray your 5 salah all the day. And that was like all day and all the time at the same time. How to pray your 5 salah all the time, as much as you can, bismillah. So again, I recommend, above all the things that I just said, go to Allah, ask Allah for Him to make it easy for you, because that is the number one foundation when it comes to really anything that we want, anything that we struggle with. Allah is literally waiting for us to ask Him so that He can help us. He loves to give. He's the most generous, right? And He's also the most appreciative. So the fact that you even care enough to be watching this video is more than enough for Allah to be appreciative of your efforts and to help you get to that point where you're praying your 5 salah. So absolutely do not despair. Don't beat yourself up if you're struggling, right? Know that you absolutely can get to a point where praying 5 salah every day feels like it is instinctive for you, and like you can't imagine a life not doing that, because subhanAllah, it really can get to that point. So I wish that for you. I pray that Allah makes it easy for each and every one of us to make our 5 salah every single day, and for Him to accept them from us. Let me know if you're interested in any other videos along the lines of this topic with regards to salah, other obligations, and how to make them feel easy, like fasting, for example. And yeah, that is the end of this video. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you liked this content, make sure to like and subscribe. And other than that, I'll see you next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.